Welcome to the Inspired Dream. Of course, my name is Leke Ademo. I have a very special guest here today. Very special because I hope you'll be sharing a lot of your stories. So, Kachi Ekwerike is currently not in Nigeria. How amazing it is that I'm in a different location, it's a different location that we can have this. So, can we meet you, Kachi? Just give us a brief introduction about yourself.
So my name is Kachi Ekwerike, like Leke said. Introductions are a bit hard for me because it's hard to know what to say and what to leave out. But I like to think about myself as a psychologist and a leadership educator. So those are two parts that I wear. My background is in psychology. I have 2 degrees in psychology. One from Lagos State University, which is how I met Leke, and then another from University of Lagos. And I'm currently wrapping up a PhD in leadership communication at Kansas State University. And both of these identities, that's my psychology background, inform the work that I do. So I run an organization called Postpartum Support Network Africa, an organization that is set up to support the organization called Postpartum Support Network Africa, which is a non-profit organization up to support women struggling with postpartum depression. And I'm also passionate about teaching leadership. So currently, I am an instructor at a school here where I teach communications and leadership. I enjoy the work that I do, in Nigeria to increase access to mental health care. So that's basically me in a nutshell. It's a psychology piece and it's a leadership piece, and of course, I just explained how both of those identities interact to create the person that you're speaking with today.
Great. So I think today, because I'm privileged to know a few things about you, so I'm going to be asking some direct questions. You were at the Inspired Dream last year. First of all, I say thank you once again for coming around. So usually we have a program called the Dream Conference rather, and Kachi was one of those who spoke, though he spoke from the US while we had the event here in Nigeria. And you shared your story. That story, can you share it again? For those who do not know you before now, just share your story.
It's a long story, but I did not always used to be this person who was passionate about education. Or even thought I would get to this point, in my life right now. So I used to be a high school dropout, when I was 14, I dropped out of secondary school. No fault of mine. Things were very challenging for my family, my parents back then. It was hard for them to keep up with tuition, and I never just had the luck to be placed in a public school. My siblings, when we struggled financially, easily got into a public. For some reason, my name would never come out on the list when my parents tried to put me in public school. And the thing about public schools in Nigeria, you need to know somebody to get into a public school. So somehow I was never fortunate to get into a public school. So that's how I just stopped education. SS2, I think. SS1 going to SS2. I stopped my education, and I had no interest in going back because I just could not see a way back. I did not think that there was any use in investing money in education, because at the end of the day, what do you need as a man? You need finances, you need respect, and other things like that. So I started working for a laundry company at 14. It was while I was there at the laundry that I met the man who owns the laundry company had studied psychology, and he was just amazing, really amazing, super amazing and kind and nurturing. And I could see the way he was working with, the young boys who were working for him. I could tell there was something about him. And so when we got talking and he told me he studied psychology, I was like, oh, no wonder, he was able to understand us. He was a very good listener. He knew what to do to motivate us, to keep us engaged. But very inspiring. He would tell me like, oh, you sound very intelligent. Actually, don't allow this be the end of your dream. Like, you should go to school. I think you have a lot of potential and whatnot. I mean, he just was very nurturing with me. And so it was when I was working with him. I worked with him for 1 year that I started to think about, okay, maybe I could go back to school. So I worked with him for 1 year, saved enough money to start my own laundry business. I was 15 at the time. I'd come home, told my parents I had saved some money and we should start the laundry business. And we built a kiosk and I started my laundry business. I was still doing my laundry business and then saved just enough money to sit for the WAEC exams. I sat for the WAEC exams as an external candidate.
Okay.
And of course, I failed woefully because, external candidates, I had no training because I stopped school in SS1, going to SS2. So I did not know a lot for sciences. So I failed. I think my first WAEC was like 6 F9s or 7 F9s.
Wow.
And I only had a credit in English. And that's thanks to my mom, because my mom would have English. But I failed woefully, and at that point I wanted to give up too. But I tried again a couple years later. I think in 2007, and I eventually passed the WAEC exams. I had like C6, about 6 C6, just barely passing the WAEC exams.
Yeah.
And then, I tried to get into university. I think my first try was I put in for University of Ibadan, and I was not selected because, at the time, University of Ibadan placed a lot of emphasis on your WAEC results. That's why the post-jam just started being a thing, but you are still very insistent on like the WAEC being very solid. And I did not have a good WAEC result. I mean, C6, but very mediocre. So I did not get in. When I tried again for Uniben, I did not get in. I remember Uniben did not even invite me for post-UME. They could not find my form or something. I had to go down to Benin. I was just so frustrated. And then I did university, and I barely got in. My cutoff mark was over 100. And that year was so amazing because in 2009, Lagos State University LASU had a lot of issues, a lot of strike that affected the admissions, and so going to another post-UME because they wanted to recruit better students. But then because of the strike, the VC at the time said, let's reduce the cutoff mark for the people who already wrote the exams and let's bring them in. And that's how I got in. So that was my journey to higher education, and I'm thankful for it. I eventually went and graduated successfully, and then went on to pursue a master's degree, and then currently wrapping up a PhD. So it's surreal, the journey. I'm thankful for it.
So you graduated successfully, but we know that it was more than successfully. You had the first class in psychology, right? Okay, so the reason why I would like to emphasize that is we met in 100 level, right? 100 level. And I still remember this period when I think it was SOC 101 or one of the courses you guys borrowed, either 105 or what, that we were supposed to define some terms. And you came to meet a couple of us that you should add your definition of that. I can't really remember. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, 105. That's anthropology. Yeah.
That you mentioned something about that we should add your definition. Do you remember that definition?
I can't remember the definition, but it was a definition of culture. I remember, I created a definition of. I came up with a definition of. And I had come up to you guys and say, cite this definition in your paper, in your exams.
Which was really quite great there. Because I remember in 100 level, what really attracted me to you there was the drive. I'm like, this guy. And some of us just entered school but you have this drive to really. But when I heard your story, I also now understood why the drive was there, and it's really amazing knowing you. I would say, let's talk about Postpartum Support Network. That's your NGO, right? Tell us about it.
PSN Africa, like I mentioned earlier, it's an organization that I set up in 2015 to support women struggle with postpartum depression. Postpartum depression is a kind of depression that affects women after childbirth. So 1 in 5 women would struggle with depression and anxiety after they have a baby. And this is often surprising for women because they expect that, you know, they should feel happy and they should feel good, but then they struggle. So I set that up because a lot of women were struggling and did not have access to information or support. So PSN Africa was set up in 2000. Yeah, and the goal was to support, the goal is to support women who struggle with postpartum depression. And I say postpartum depression is a kind of depression that sets in after birth. So around 1 in 5 women will struggle with depression after they have their babies. And at the time, I know a lot of people or organizations help men get help. So I wanted to bridge that gap to not only raise awareness about the condition, but also to provide mothers support, tangible support, and to connect them to therapists who can help them feel better.
If you were going to advise a typical Nigerian right now, what would that advice be? I mean, a typical Nigerian living in Nigeria, it could be anything on any area of life. What would that be?
I think it would be to commit to self-development. Like, commit to self-development. Like, nobody is going to... Our schools are not designed to help you succeed. You know, it's just the truth. There's nothing in Nigeria that is designed to help you succeed. I feel like many things in Nigeria are designed to just hold us back. But you need to commit to self-development. There's nothing you would like to learn, you know, that you cannot learn right now. There's so much information out there on the web. Take advantage of it, develop yourself. With Postpartum Support Africa, people are always surprised, like, how did I start PSN Africa? Nobody taught me about postpartum depression. I did 2 degrees in psychology, you know. Nobody taught me what postpartum depression was. I learned about that myself. I went and I studied myself. I found organizations who were in that space. I found, to increase access. I felt like this is something I could do. So it's learning, it's self-development. I was doing trainings in Lagos, in Nigeria, for nurses on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a huge concept in psychology here in the West. In Nigeria, nobody taught me about emotional intelligence, and I have 2 degrees. You know, I went last psychology, Unilag psychology. Nobody taught me anything about emotional intelligence. But I went, you know, I learned about, I read books on emotional intelligence. I went online, watched videos, and I developed something from it. So commit to self-development is what I would advise any young person in Nigeria today, is that think about how to be better, to be a better version of yourself. And the competition, this is something I kept telling off when I was in Nigeria. Competition is not Nigeria. You know, the people you are competing with are in Asia, they're in China. The people you are competing with are in the US. The people you are competing with are not in Nigeria. You know, like, the only person competing with in Nigeria is yourself. But when you step out of Nigeria, you realize that there's competition. Like, people are doing things with knowledge. So gather as much knowledge as possible, but most importantly, apply knowledge as possible. Find something that you can, find a problem that you can use your knowledge to provide solutions for. I cannot overstate that, you know. So commit to development, self-development, identify a problem that your knowledge and capacity can solve, and commit to solving that challenge. That's one advice I can give any young person.
Okay. Thank you very much for the time. Really appreciate. This is my second interview coming back like this. I started this in 2017, but then it was not videos. Just I interviewed you, did I? Yes, I remember I interviewed you then, but it was on WhatsApp. You remember, right? We just did like a chat interview. But I decided that we need to have video interviews. And so thank you for coming around. I really appreciate this. Thank you very much. So this is where we're going to wrap this up. And I wish you all the best as you're finishing your PhD and in everything you do. Thank you very much. See you whenever we see. So this we're going to wrap this up right now. Thank you once again.
All right, bro.